It could potentially feel very, very different when we're talking about the New Orleans Saints very, very soon. They always knew that this potential day would come, but yeah, like you think about somebody as a true franchise quarterback, and you think of somebody that truly is the face of a city, of a franchise. Sometimes we underutilize that term, and sometimes we overutilize that term. We can do both. But I don't think there's any question that when you think about the immortals of immortals when it comes to New Orleans Saints history, that Drew Brees is and always will be the dude. He always will be. When he came to that team in 2006 along with Sean Payton, like, it's easy to forget just how bad of a way the Saints were. And it's not just strictly because of the 2005 season and what happened in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. That was certainly a big contributing factor, but for the most part, that Saints organization, way back to its foundation of the 60s, was largely a joke in the league. Like, they were the Aints for decades. Got a little blip of the radar of positivity and hope during the Jim Mora days. You can maybe point to, what was it, the 2000 season with Jim Haslett and Aaron Brooks, but let's be real here. You're talking about this Saints organization. There's a lot of losing, a lot of misery associated with that team, and when Drew Brees signed as a free agent before that 2006 season, that was the signature moment, key moment in time where everything changed. And heading into 2020, I think a lot of us probably thought or believed it was possible that this was going to be his last ride. Wasn't getting any younger. He was kind of already looking somewhat washed in 2019. And you could see it as the season went along that he just didn't have those Drew Brees level abilities anymore. Father Time is undefeated, apparently, unless you use the TB12 program. But you could clearly see where his skills had eroded, and eroded quite a bit. You could clearly see that he wasn't the same dude. And then especially once he got the injury that led to the broken ribs and everything like that, you knew that for all intents and purposes, even before the rumors really got hot and heavy, there's a very good chance that that injury scared the bejesus out of him and made him rethink his priorities, and that 2020 was going to be the swan song. But even with a Drew Brees that clearly had diminishing skills, still without him for a few games during the year, they still went 12-4 and won the NFC South. There's been a spectacular run over the last few seasons for the Saints team, where they've taken an all-time great quarterback and surrounded him with a really good team, and yet somehow every year managed to find a way to fail, to make it to the Super Bowl and ultimately win another championship. And, you were wondering how it was going to go down this time. How are they going to figure out a way to choke it away? How are they going to figure out a way to have that spectacular face-planting playoff loss? I mean, you were wondering. And even for them, I thought they got kind of lucky because they got to face the Bears in the wild card round. Like, that's a tune-up game. But even in that game, you could start to see some of the cracks. Like if Javon Wims catches that touchdown, it might be a very different game. If Sean Payton doesn't coach so chicken shit at key times, it probably would have been a much more wide open game and even bigger domination by the Saints, but he didn't, which made you start to wonder. Like, you had the Taysom Hill gadget play that backfired spectacularly. Like, it was comfortable. It was a good thing they had the Bears as a tune-up, but going into that Tampa game, like, I felt like Tampa could win it, but New Orleans had beaten them twice in the regular season convincingly, both the Week 1 matchup and then later on in the year when they beat them, 38-3? Like, you're thinking, is this one of these situations where the Saints are just a really bad matchup for Tampa and that they've got their number? Well, reality sunk in for sure that wasn't the case, and certainly reality had to sink in that this Saints team as constructed is not championship material and that Drew Brees is truly done. And that was clearly obvious in that divisional round game with all those turnovers allowing Tampa to win 30-20 like they did. So now you're looking at the Saints and you're saying, what in the hell happens next? And I can sit there and talk about, well, Drew Brees is washed and everything else. He is. We know he is. This is still a team that was top 5 in the league in points scored on offense. They didn't nearly have the same passing attack they once did. And yeah, sure, a lot of that has to do with really no consistent fear of Drew Brees being able to consistently throw on any type of rope more than 10 yards down the field. But you also had less than half of a season out of captain slaying himself, Michael Thomas. So you're missing your number one weapon for over half of the season, and you still finish top 5 in the league in points scored. And that's what's baffling about this Saints team. You're top 5 in the league in points scored, top 5 in the league, 5th in total points allowed. Like, the name of the game is score more than your opponents one way or another. Well, if you're among the league leaders in scoring the most points and you're among the league leaders in giving up the fewest points, that usually should bode well for success. And that's probably why this Saints team over the past few years has won double-digit games, made it to the playoffs several times, gotten into a spot, and then they've fallen apart. It's just really weird. And again, now you talk about the Saints team coming up into this offseason, like we're still waiting for the official Drew Brees retirement announcement. I'm assuming that's going to come at some point in time. There's already been some contract shenanigans that went on. I shouldn't call them shenanigans, but some contract movement that went on that lowered Drew Brees' base pay in 2021 to the veteran minimum, which clears up salary cap space for the Saints that, frankly, they're really going to need. They would need it already, even if Drew Brees was coming back. But they really, really need it even more because you talk about a team that's $50 to $60 million over the cap, and you're having to figure out how you replace the first ballot Hall of Famer that's walking out the door after 15 seasons there. You know, maybe you could do things like give a Ramczyk or a Lattimore contract extensions and kick some of that money out down the road so that way you can lower the cap hits that they currently have. But they're going to have to get creative, and they're going to have to do some different things, and you know, they're going to have to make some decisions here. Like, what do you do with Jameis Winston? Are you really bought and sold on Taysom Hill being the guy there? Or do you really think that Jameis Winston could be that dude? If you do, then why didn't you start Jameis during the season? And then why didn't you put Jameis in during that playoff game? At least it would have been exciting. Balls to the walls. Who the hell knows? But you got guys like Jared Cook you got to make decisions on. Marcus Williams, Sheldon Rankins, Nick Easton. Like, you have a couple of notable free agents here. And most importantly of all, it comes down to the quarterback position. And what is this team going to do? And you look at it and you say, well, with the Saints, you don't really anticipate them being in the market to draft a quarterback high, as they really haven't done that over the years, and that's absolutely true. And I would expect that to continue. I believe that they're going to think that they have that solution in-house with a combination of Taysom Hill and or Jameis Winston. There's a big part of me that wants it to be Jameis Winston because, damn it, we need that in our lives. We want it in our lives. We've got to have it in our lives. But maybe it's Taysom Hill. Who the hell knows? But that's the number one issue to address here. After you figure out how the hell you're going to get under the salary cap to be able to do anything, now you got to figure out what you're going to do at the most important position in the game. And no matter who it is, whether it's Winston or it's Hill, like, that's a hell of a legacy to follow behind. That's a hell of a career to have to play in the shadow of and follow up on. And a lot of lesser men and even a lot of, you know, potentially really good players have wilted under that type of pressure. But whoever is the quarterback, they also need some more help on that offense. And I know that you're saying, well, that's really weird to say, but, you know, you had Michael Thomas for less than half of the year, and you could see that this offense of the Saints didn't have the same explosiveness, did not have the big play ability, the quick strike ability. Some of that you can attribute to Drew Brees. Some of that you can attribute to the lack of weapons that you have on the offensive side of the ball. Jared Cook's not any younger, and he's a free agent. This might be a wise time to try and bring in a younger option that you could have there for the long term after doing a couple of different veteran stopgap moves post the Jimmy Graham times. But I certainly think they could use a more truly established, you know, number two type of complementary weapon opposite Michael Thomas for whatever quarterback they've got. But I certainly look at that offense and say, yeah, you finished top 5 in the league in total points scored, but you could get more and you could get better and you could add some variety and spice to your offense. And a new quarterback with better arm strength might be able to bring some of that naturally. And this offense will certainly, I think, look at least a little bit different, if not significantly, strikingly different in 2021. But you got to help out that quarterback, whoever it is. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, I mentioned Sheldon Rankins, former first-round pick, being a free agent. The interior of that defensive line, I think, is a need that they got to address in the draft. Corner, you could always use more depth at corner, and they certainly could as well. especially if they have to make some cap casualty moves and get rid of some guys out of that secondary. But I guess the number one thing for the Saints right now is you still have a pretty good core and infrastructure of team. And you saw a team with a depleted Drew Brees still win 12 games this year. So I don't think it all has to be doom and gloom for the Saints of, oh my God, we don't have Drew Brees, it's all over. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be it. Like if you have a quarterback that can Jameis his way through and give you some more Winstons, I think you get what I'm saying, maybe the Saints could continue to eat some more W's in 2021. Why did I say that? Just because I wanted to do what Jameis did. Who want to eat some W's? Please, for the love of God, let Jameis Winston be the New Orleans Saints starter in 2021.